Hey guys, it's Coach Herb. I just wanted to go over the assignment instructions today so that you have a good idea what you are supposed to be doing. Today we're going to be learning about the Atlantic slave trade, and in doing so, you're going to be conducting a DBQ, or what it would be called a document-based questions, or a set of them. And so you're going to be using different documents to better analyze these things. Some of them primary sources, some of them maps, just different things that can help you dive into the information a little bit deeper. And so after watching the video, you should have a good base of knowledge to add to. And so, we'll be using the slave trade exploration uh, assignment there in Schoology. To get to it, you go to September 25th. It's in week 4. And like I said, you'll have already watched the video, and it describes, today we're going to be learning about one of the most terrible, cruel, and impactful ideas that developed during the age of exploration. The Atlantic slave trade that came about during this time led to issues and problems that we still face today, and we know that. We'll eventually get into those ideas. Sugar plantations and tobacco farms required a large supply of workers to make the profit for their owners. European owners had planned to use Native Americans as a source of cheap labor, but millions of Native Americans died from disease, warfare, and brutal treatment. Therefore, the Europeans in Brazil, the Caribbean, and the colonies in North America soon turned to African workers. This demand for cheap labor resulted in the brutalities of the slave labor. Slavery did not start here, but this movement of people changed the makeup of a new country, as well as created deep social divides among the people in the new world. What we learned today will help us better understand what these people went through and how it forever changed history. So, like I said, you'll be working on the DBQ, or document-based questions, on the Atlantic slave trade. You'll read different primary and secondary sources that give you a deeper understanding of what these people had to go through in the Atlantic slave trade. Try to envision these ideas happening today and the reaction to them, because we would hope that nothing like this would happen today. But, a similarity is the human trafficking that's going on. That is very similar to this. It's not the same. Don't quote me on that, but it is very similar in the sense that people are being kidnapped and taken against their will. So if you click this link, it'll give you a copy. And you go here, it gives you some instructions on how to fill out a worksheet that's embedded in the background. That's what this is. Keep it formatted. And I've got text boxes there. Uh, and if it does get too small, remember the zoom button over here. You can zoom in and make it real big. Okay. Your first task is to study the map of the Atlantic slave trade, just to give you an idea, and write down 5 things that you can learn from this map. Again, there's not really any wrong answers here. It's just 5 things that you can learn based off of reading this map. You just look at it, things that you could learn. And so it could be anything. It could be about the crops that were used. It could be about the routes that were used. It could be about the locations. It could be about the numbers of slaves. So find 5 things that you could learn from this Atlantic slave trade map. Second task is to read a couple of sources. Source number 1 is talking about how enslaved Africans found themselves aboard ships. And so I'll let you read that one. And it's a primary source from that time period. But read that and answer the question. Answer the question asks, what does the author say about how enslaved Africans found themselves aboard ships? So that's what you're looking for. The second one is talking about some of the conditions that these people lived through. And so as you read there, you'll be looking for 3 things you can learn from the Atlantic slave trade from that primary source. So that primary source there is talking about the conditions they went through and the issues that they dealt with. And so you have to find 3 things you can learn from there. Source number 3 is also more about their journey, what they would call the Middle Passage, the terrible journey that they took along the seas from Africa to the continents of North and South America. So in the third one, you're working on a skill. You're summarizing what the author is saying in the quote. So you're taking what they said and paraphrasing it in your own words. And again, working on a skill always, so that's important. And then at the bottom, make sure you insert 3 pictures or symbols that depicts life aboard an enslaved ship. So it doesn't have to just be 3 pictures you find on the internet that are from the Atlantic slave trade. It could be pictures that depict or symbols that depict what was going on. That, maybe it's handcuffs because they were being shackled, or death because so many of them died. Um, and so, like I said, I'm not going to read this source for you, but summarize it, work on that skill, and then connect to it through the pictures and the symbols. Okay, and then your fourth source is talking about what they ate and kind of some of the activities that went on the ship as well, some things that they did as long as they were on these ships on the Middle Passage. So you need to list 4 facts. Remember, facts are things that are concrete that you can prove, things that for sure they did each day. It's not an opinion like it was the worst of times. It might have been, but it has to be concrete. Like for instance, they ate boiled yams. That would be a fact. Uh, any of the things that is concrete that can be proven is a fact. Then the next part on this is that talks about the sources, and you are to explain to the extent that Alexander Falconbridge and Martin Duberman are reliable sources. So why are they reliable sources? And that's based on this reading right here and the information that you're reading here. So, why were these 2 guys reliable sources? And then lastly, you're kind of tying it all together. You take the sources, you take the pictures, and you kind of make connections. So the first one says, which source, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4, addresses the picture to the right? Directly copy the quote from the source into the space provided. So what you do is you're saying, okay, this one's talking about shackles and muzzles and things of that sort. So you would answer whatever you think it is, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then what the source was, and then who was the quote. So the source would be the person that is, writing the source. So like in this one, for instance, is Martin Duberman, where this one might be Alexander Falconbridge. And then the last thing is you put the quote, and so you do that for each one of these pictures. So you'd have a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, which person wrote the article or the source, and then the quote from them that leads you to believe that this is what they're talking about. So right here they're being thrown overboard. Here they're having a mutiny. Here they're being shackled. Where did that information come from? So it's taking what you learned today and applying it. Okay. If you have any questions, please send me an email. If you need any help, send me an email. View your videos, be reviewing your work. Again, the test for Group A is going to be on Tuesday, so be working on your study guide and looking at that. And your test for Group B is going to be on Thursday. And so I'll go over the study guide on Monday. Work really hard. Make sure you turn in all your work before Sunday. Again, late penalties are going to be assessed from here on out. And without anything else to say, have a great day.